Hey folks, I'm Dieter Melhorn. Are you new to fishing? Did you just walk into Walmart and see all those hooks hanging up there on the wall and don't know which one to buy? Well, stay tuned. We're going to help you out. Well, folks, if you're new to fishing, or even if you've been fishing for a while, you know that there's a big selection of hooks out there with a lot of different names, a lot of different shapes. But which one do you use? Well, what we're going to do is go over the three basic hooks that are out there. Pretty much everything is derived off of these three, and we're going to tell you how they work, what they're best for, and hopefully help you figure out which one you need. The first one is the most common one that, well, if you think of a fish hook or somebody draws a picture of it, it's the one you're going to see, and that's called a J hook. Well, it's called a J hook because, well, it's shaped like a J. No big secret there. You're probably asking yourself, aren't they all shaped like a J? We'll get to that in a minute. But the J hook, by its design, is basically like a J. It's just a line up and down. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that was pretty simple. Let's move on to the next one. A couple of points about the J hook. There are a lot of variations within the J hook family. One of the most common things is the length of the shank. This is the part of the hook that is the longer side of it that is away from the tip. These things vary in length depending on what you're fishing for and how you're using it. Another thing that varies is that little loop, that little circle, that little eye where you tie on your fishing line. Sometimes they are straight and sometimes they are bent. Now you're probably wondering, with all those variations and all those variables that are out there, which one do you use? Now, size is the most important thing when it comes to these hooks. If you just want to take your kids fishing, maybe go catch some bluegill, sunfish underneath the bobber with some worms or some crickets, something in the number 5 through number 8 is going to be a good size for catching these small fish. Now, as you work your way up the food chain to some bigger fish, you're going to want to up your game a little bit, but you don't have to go super huge. A lot of times you can get by with a number 2, a 1, a 1/0, or a 2/0 hook, and you can catch bass, catfish, and a lot of other species in this same size class. Now, for most of you that are new to fishing, the J hook is your best hook to start out with. It's a simple hook to use. You get to jerk the rod and set the hook like you see people do on TV, and it's your best hook to start out using. Now, the next hook that you will commonly see is a treble hook. A treble hook is basically 3 J hooks that are welded together. While you can tie one of these hooks onto your fishing line, they are most commonly used on lures. Any of the crankbaits and topwater baits that bass fishermen use generally have treble hooks on them. These are great hooks on reaction baits, things that you are casting and cranking and the fish is reacting to it, because these things pretty much set themselves. All a fish has to do is swim into it and open its mouth, and the hook is pretty much set. Now, if you're new to fishing, generally you're not going to be buying a pack of these hooks for anything. They're not really something that the new casual angler is going to be purchasing. They're going to come on fishing lures. The lures that you buy if you're trying to catch a bass or something like that, you're wanting to cast and crank, those are typically what's going to come on there. But it's not generally something you're going to buy to put any type of bait on to go catch a fish. Now, the last one has grown in popularity for, if no other reason than protection of the fish, and that's the circle hook. Now, a circle hook is very similar to a J hook, except that the point, the tip, the sharpest part, turns perpendicular to the shank of the hook. That subtle little turn of that hook point is what separates this hook from a J hook. Research has shown that these hooks are more likely to hook in the outer part of the mouth and less likely to hook deeper into the mouth and into the throat where they can seriously injure a fish. For anglers like myself that are big proponents of catch and release of trophy fish, these hooks are an excellent choice. While there are times that fish will swallow these hooks, generally speaking, the overwhelming majority of the hook sets come in the corner of the fish's mouth. One of the coolest things about the circle hook is, well, you don't have to pay attention to your fishing rod. If you are properly set up and you have tension on your line, these hooks will basically set themselves. That ability of the circle hook to set itself, in my opinion, makes it an excellent hook for not only experienced anglers like myself who are out there fishing hundreds of days every year, but also for a lot of you folks that are new to fishing. Now, if you go looking up circle hooks, you're gonna see a lot of variety there too. The biggest thing on the hooks that I look for is a wider gap. I personally like a wider gap. And what I mean by that is the distance from the tip of the hook to the shank of the hook. So out of those three, if you're new to fishing, like I said, start with the J-hook. I think the J-hook is probably your best bet to start out with. It will get you used to dealing with a reaction bite. You get to set the hook. You get to put some energy into it. You get to interact with the fish that way. But once you start catching and releasing fish, or catching fish that you have to release, you may want to move up to the circle hook. It's a very good hook, very effective hook. Just remember, don't jerk the rod. Well, folks, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Here are a couple more videos that I think you're gonna like. I'd watch that one, and then that one. No, do that one first, and then that one. I don't know, just watch them both. They're both good.